Welcome, everyone. Bienvenidos a todos. I'm not sure if my Spanish is all right, but we welcome you to this EF Forum special edition for Learning Week. So, Learning Week is not over yet. We could have been over, but no, we have plenty of surprises for you. There are many things happening still in the Learning Week agenda that I will soon post a link in the chat so you are able to discover what is happening for Learning Week here from AMU. Uh, I would like to say also thank you to Juan for organizing and for wanting you to upgrade your English with these special editions because it's, of course, English. It's not my first language and it's not even yours. And it's important that we have occasions to practice as much as possible to get out our comfort zone. And who knows, maybe one day become a English first language speaker. You never know what the future can bring to you. And I'm so privileged to be here with Elisa, our great teacher. So Elisa is with us, as you may know, for many, many years, more than my years here at ArcelorMittal.
It's gone
And
fast.
yes, time flies. And Elisa has been helping the ArcelorMittal population elevating and practicing their English skills in this safe environment. So this is very important for you to be aware of. This is a safe space where you can practice, you can make mistakes, because this is the only way on how we learn. Right,
Mistakes
Elisa?
are good. Mistakes are good.
Mistakes are good. Without mistakes, we are not going nowhere.
That's right.
So thanks again for everyone. And at this point, I hand over to you, Elisa. If you need me, I'm here just
Wonderful.
in the back end.
Well done. Welcome, everyone. How lovely to be with you again after our session on, when was it? Last Wednesday. So a bit quicker this time to get to see you again. Today, we're talking about building relationships in international teams. Now, what's the most important thing in building relationships? It's communication. And we communicate using language. And in international teams, we have to find a common language, something that we can all use and share a bit. So that's what today is all about. Let's look at the lesson objectives. Most important, you are welcome to ask questions. I encourage you to ask questions at any time. You can type them in the chat or you can raise a hand, a virtual hand, and Veronica will turn on your microphone so that you can speak. You can welcome to make comments too. So in this lesson, we will discuss some advantages and challenges of working and communicating in an international team. And at ArcelorMittal, we have a very big international team. In our language focus, we're going to develop and practice some phrases for agreeing and disagreeing politely and appropriately. Learning the words is only half of learning to communicate in another language. We're also going to develop some expressions and phrases for encouraging participation and for ensuring understanding. And I also, if we have time, we will explore 7 tips for fostering strong relationships in international teams. Very useful if you are a team leader, but also good to know for anybody in a team. So let's begin. I'm going to begin by giving you some text. Oh, we do have a role play exercise. Have you ever been in one of our forums where we've had a conversation and I ask some of you to role play them? Don't be shy. This is a great opportunity to actually practice speaking in a safe environment. I'll give you a little bit of practice before that happens. So don't be shy when the time comes. I've got some text here that we're going to read. I want you to listen to me speaking and read along with me. Okay. Remember, you can ask if there are any words. Ask about any words that you're not sure of. It's always good to learn new words. So here we go. Ready? The world has become increasingly connected. Our teams have become increasingly international, all made possible by developments in communication technology like this. We now email, message, video conference, and video call our colleagues using IT on a daily basis. Ironically, despite this increased technological ability to communicate, we've also lost our human connection. This means we should rethink how we manage, support, and empower our teams. What we've lost to remote work, those water cooler moments, need to be recreated across the globe. Do you know what I mean by a water cooler moment? Does anybody know what I mean by that? What do you think a water cooler moment is? In the chat, tell me what you think a water cooler moment. Oh, a hand up. Jorge. We'll turn your microphone on. You can tell me. Veronica's busy turning you on. She's nodding.
I'm sorry. I just I was.
Oops. You're welcome. Now that you've started speaking, I'd love to hear you. Small talk.
Honestly, Elisa, I don't even know what watercolor moments are.
Oh, really?
Never
Well,
heard. So
we've
maybe
got
I
the
can make
answer
some
here in the
assumptions.
chat. Oh, you could try. What do you think it might be?
Someone, Emoke is saying small talk next to the water cooler.
Yes,
Hence,
that's exactly
water
right.
cooler.
Exactly right.
Wow.
So maybe in your office, there's a place where you can go and get a nice cool drink of water, and maybe someone else is there too at the same time. And you always say a little something like, "Oh, hi, how's your day going? Are you working on that project?" Small talk. Usually in the office, it'll be work-related small talk. You might learn something that you didn't know. You might make an arrangement to catch up with someone. You might actually get some advantage for whatever you're working on. But it's a very informal moment, but it can be very valuable. Well done, Emoke. It's exactly that, small talk next to the water cooler. Small talk can sometimes have a big advantage. It's not small in the terms of communication. And things you say might be very short, but otherwise it's very important. Well done. Okay, let's continue. Leaders, especially leaders, should focus on facilitating social connections between employees to build strong team relationships and creating the conditions for innovation by establishing the structures for employees to network and collaborate across boundaries. This new way of working has opened doors for businesses and for their staff to learn from each other. But of course, with any change comes challenge. One challenge for international teams is to understand each other through spoken language and written communication, and on a cultural level. This happens through language, and in the global context, it is often English that is used as the lingua franca. So, being able to use clear, understandable language and developing appropriate and functional expressions is key. And that's exactly what we're going to do today for the next 50 minutes. Thinking about these advantages and disadvantages of being in an international team, there are many advantages, but it does also come with challenges. So in the chat box, quickly tell me about some advantages. What's a good thing about being in an international team? Might be good for you personally, might be good for the business. Name some advantages. You can type in the chat box, or you're welcome to talk if you prefer. Nice. I agree with that, Veronica. The fact that you get to learn about different cultures, a diversity of ideas, absolutely. There is an old saying in English which says that 2 heads are better than 1. So if you have a team of 10 heads, that's got to be even better than 2. We can learn many things. Personal growth, absolutely. And when individuals in a team are able to understand more culturally, interact more, then we've got growth for the whole team. And that's an advantage for the business. Nicely done. Any other ideas? Let's add some in here. More diverse range of ideas and experiences. You got that? Businesses can develop on a global scale to cover more markets and have greater resilience. So that's from the overall business point of view. Operating in different time zones means that a business can function 24/7. That could be one of the disadvantages too. Let's have a look at that shortly. Being a global business can give you some access to competitive prices and costs. We quite often see this in terms of labour costs, but it has lots to do with logistics and where your raw materials might be, all that sort of thing. Okay, so now tell me about some challenges or disadvantages. Tell me about some of the challenges that you think are part of working in an international team. What do you find difficult about communicating with colleagues across the world? Got some ideas? Or do you think it's all perfect? Different time zones. That's top 2. Being aware of others' public holidays. That's interesting that you came up with that one because it's in my tips at the end. Nice. Any other disadvantages or challenges? Language. Absolutely right. Cultural differences, that's an important one. And that's much more subtle. Cultural differences can be quite difficult to learn about because they're things that people find normal, and so they don't think about it until suddenly they find themselves in an environment where what they thought was normal is suddenly a bit different. It can catch people by surprise. Absolutely. These are some of the things. Language, it can cause misunderstandings. Cultural differences, so these maybe cause offence or insecurity. Usually. Long distance relationships can actually be difficult to establish and maintain. Ever had a girlfriend or boyfriend who's living overseas for a while? Trying to keep that connection is quite difficult. Same thing with your work colleagues, trying to keep that connection. And of course, the time zones. Those are the advantages and disadvantages. A quick quiz. Which of these statements do you think are good ideas for communicating in a global team? What do you think about A? Using abbreviations or slang language will help communication. Is that a thumbs up or a thumbs down? Is that good or a bad idea? You can give me a thumbs up or down if you like. Good idea, bad idea? Claudia, you're quite right. Different traditions, that's part of the cultural thing. The advantage is, in a team like that, we can learn about them. It's my first thumbs down. You're right. It's a bad idea. Abbreviations are very difficult. Florence, you're telling me the good ones. C, D, and E. Let's see. What about B? Is B. B, I've got a thumbs up. Absolutely. Learning key polite phrases can help you deal with difficult situations. Yeah. In the work environment, we know some of the situations are that we find difficult. And if you need to prepare for something, you can go ahead and practice some phrases, which is what we're doing today. Learning about local customs if working abroad can help avoid offence. Nice. You're quite right, Claudia. B is good. Florence thinks that C is good. Great. What about B? Should you avoid speaking in meetings if you are not very confident about your English? What do you think? Is this a good? I'm glad you said that. It's not a good idea. You might feel a bit out of your comfort zone, but you should not avoid speaking. You need to contribute your ideas, and hopefully you can teach your team to be patient and learn how to communicate easily. Make your team a safe place to communicate. What about the last one? Make sure you check understanding for everyone throughout a meeting. Which one is it? Yes, of course. Of course. We need to check. So, on that note, is everyone keeping up with me? Can you understand me? Do I speak clearly enough? Am I speaking slowly enough? Give me a thumbs up or down. Excellent. So let's carry on then and learn some phrases. Thank you. Don't forget to ask if you have any questions or you want just to check the meaning of a word or the word. It's what we're here for. Now we're going to actually look at some expressions that we can use when we want to agree with someone or disagree. Let's begin with the agreement. Here's a little scenario. At a meeting to discuss a new marketing campaign, a team member reports the findings from some recent market research and suggests changing direction. This is what they said. The early results from our market research are in, and it isn't looking good. I think we need to go in a new direction. I know it's a bit late to start from scratch. I just don't think this campaign idea is working. Do I need to clarify anything from there? Do you understand to start from scratch? That means start all the way from the beginning. Okay, here we have 4 people who agreed with this idea. Here are the responses. All 4 of them have said that they agree in a different way. So your task is to look at these phrases that are underlined and decide which one is the strongest agreement and which one's the weakest. Where would you put them on this scale? Which one goes in place number 1? Take your time and have a read through them. So in the chat, you can put number 1 and then decide B, C, or D. Well done, Leonardo. Yes, and there's Florence. Or is it Michelle? I getting these names around the right way? Florence, yes. And Charlotte is next. Yes, we're getting some strong agreement. Yes, absolutely. Very nice. Ah, Gregor, you're quick. Which one do you think is number 2? Nicely done. Nicely done. So if we're very enthusiastic, we'd say, yes, absolutely. If the results aren't good, I don't think we should stick with this campaign. Yes, absolutely, I agree with you. Hey, you're quite right. You're right. It's now or never. It might be a risk to change, but it could be worth it. What shall we put in place number 3? Yep, we're getting the Bs. You have a point. You have a point. I agree. If these results aren't good, we don't want to waste more time continuing in this direction. And that leaves number 4. You will notice that our tone changes. The more agreement, the more enthusiastic. You can hear it in the way I say it, right? Yes, absolutely. You're right. You have a point. I guess. So these are different degrees of agreement. Nicely done. Well done. Okay, what about disagreement? Disagreeing is something that people often feel uncomfortable doing, but saying no is often an important part of business and work. And people will expect their team to give their honest opinion or appraisal of a situation to improve the business. In English, we often avoid disagreeing directly, and we prefer to give a softer response while still showing we disagree. And this can be an important cultural difference. It is something that people find quite difficult to adapt to. In my culture here, I live in the Netherlands, people are very happy to be direct. Where I used to live in New Zealand, which has a very English kind of culture, they're not so happy to disagree. They don't like saying no. They're uncomfortable about it. So here are 4 responses that express disagreement with the idea of changing direction. And I've got some softening expressions that we can use to make it less direct. Where is it? There they are. So I think we need more information. Not necessarily. I see your point, but, and I'm afraid. You've probably heard this one. We use this a lot. It doesn't mean that we're actually frightened. We just put it before a negative statement to make it a bit softer. Read the sentences, the responses 1 to 4, and tell me which ones do you think fit best. It's a bit tougher, this one, isn't it? You might find that there's another little sneaky clue here. How long is this? And how long is the gap that we've got to put in it? Let's have a look at this first one. They say, I can't agree with that. That's quite direct, isn't it? What short phrase might we put in front of that? Just soften it. Oh, I've got some 1Cs. It's true. You could actually put C in front of it. You could say, I see your point, but I can't agree with that. Technically, grammatically, that would make sense, but it doesn't sound quite natural. We're much more likely to put I'm afraid in front of that one. If you've got a very direct statement, just soften it with I'm afraid. No real logic to it. This is part of understanding the cultural side of language. What do people normally say in these situations? Which is why it's a good idea to practice these phrases with the kind of thing that you might be in a situation to say. So, I'm afraid I can't agree with that. I'm afraid I don't agree with that. And if we're making something that direct, we usually expect to follow it up with some information as to why we don't agree. I agree with that. We've put so much time into this project. I think we should try to find a way to make it work. You feel why that's one's working? Yeah. Okay, number 2. Something. I think we should wait for the other results before making big decisions. Which one do you think might fit best in there? Try them out in your head. Try out each of these and see which one you think feels best, because chances are you will find it. And remember that this is the context. Sorry, the context was our discussion on the slide before. We're getting some C's here. People really want to use I see your point, but we do have some alternatives. I see your point. Absolutely. Well done. I see your point, but I think we should do something different. Yeah. I can understand when we say I see your point, we mean I understand why you're saying that. And it's valid. It makes sense. But I think we should wait for other results. Okay, getting a little bit easier now. What about number 3? We've only got choice of 2, haven't we? So let's see. Not necessarily. So I don't necessarily agree with you. According to the schedule, there are still some survey responses coming in, and so we still have some time. And that leaves the last one. I think we need some more information. The other responses might be more positive, which could show we're going in the other direction. How did you find that? Was that difficult? Quite tricky, isn't it? Have a read through these again afterwards or now and get a feel for why one fits and the other doesn't. Not so well. I'll read them once more. I'm afraid I can't agree with that. I see your point, but I think we should wait. Not necessarily. According to the schedule, there are still some survey responses to come in. I think we need more information. The other responses might be more positive. Okay. Now, of course, we can't practice exactly the right sentence for your situation, but I'd like you to have a play with these phrases and see if you can apply them to something that you do use. Okay. Let's move on and recap these. Okay, so some phrases for agreeing. Yes, absolutely. You probably hear me using that when I see some of your answers and I say, yes, you're absolutely right. So you can mix that up a bit too. Yes, absolutely. You're right. You're absolutely right. You have a point, but I'm thinking about it. I guess we could try that. So it depends how strongly you want to agree. And expressions, oh, of course. Remember that you always think about your tone of voice. It will give the other person the understanding of just how strongly you feel what you're saying. And phrases, I'm afraid, it's our top one. Afraid I don't have any left. I'm sorry. I'm afraid I can't meet that deadline. I see your point, but I see your point. But have you thought about this? Yeah? Not necessarily. It's not absolutely sure that that's what's happening. So not necessarily, we might find that we have something else happening. I think we need more information. That's a really good way of extending the time to think about something. If you've got an important decision to make and you think you don't know all the information, it's a good idea to say so. I think we need more information, because the more information you have, the better the decision is likely to be. Let's move on and practice some more phrases. These ones are for encouraging people to speak. You want to use everyone's brains, so you want them to give you some input. We need to be able to summarize and clarify so that we can be sure that we've heard everything that people have told us. And we want to be able to check understanding to ensure that others have been able to understand what we said. Here's a lot of phrases, and your task is to sort them out into the boxes. Let's look at all these phrases. So, just to recap, I think we should ask for Anne's opinion. Could you give an example of? Could you tell us more about? I'm interested to hear what Tom has to say. The other way of saying it is, I'd like to hear your views, Tom. The difference between these two is you're talking to the whole group, but you're asking for Tom's opinion. This one, I'd like to hear your views, Tom. You're speaking directly to Tom. Okay. If could I get some more detail about that? Summarize what's been decided so far. Does anyone have any further comments? So to clarify, we use these in different situations. In situations like to encourage someone for some input. We summarize what's been said and we check for understanding. So look at these. In the chat box, tell me where A should go. So just to recap, what are we doing when we recap what's been said? Are we encouraging input? Are we summarizing? Or are we ensuring understanding? We're summarizing, just to recap, so that we did that before on our previous slide. We recapped the phrases that we'd covered. Nice. I think we should ask for Anne's opinion. That goes in box 1, 2, or 3. Box 1, you're quite right. Could you give an example of? What are we doing with that one? No. Oh, it's disappeared on us. That's interesting. Could you, over there, disappeared on my screen, eerily. Could you give an example of? We could use it to encourage some input, but it's a way of it that we've understood it. Yeah. Somebody will tell you about a process and you might think, oh, I think I understand it, but could you give me an example of that? To get an analogy, like a situation that people can understand easily. D, could you tell us more about? It's a little bit like, can you give me an example? It's to make sure that you understand it. Yeah. Florence is telling me that D goes in 3, quite right. You're absolutely right. What about E? I'm interested to hear what Tom has to say. Where should we put that? Nice. Yeah. Encouraging input. Could we detail about? What do you think? It seems a little bit like F, doesn't it? It seems a little bit like this one. Asking for more understanding so that we could check it. So just to summarize what's been decided so far, I think that's an easy one. Where does this go? Yeah, there's a clue in there, isn't it? Summarize. Does anyone have any further comments? Nice. Well done. Well done. So to clarify, I3, absolutely, to ensure understanding. So lots of phrases there that you could practice using in your scenarios, in your situation. Just to recap, we can encourage input by saying, does anyone have any further comments? I'm interested to hear what Tom has to say. I'm interested to hear what you all have to say. I'd like to hear about your views. And I think we should ask for your opinion. These are examples of phrases used to produce a response from individuals group. So you're actually asking people to tell you something. Here are our summarizing and clarifying. Just to recap, just to summarize what's been decided, and so to clarify. Is often used to signal that something will be very short. This is just to recap, just to summarize. We use it in other situations too, like just a moment, I won't be long. And under our group for checking understanding, could you give an example of, could you tell us more about, and could you give me some more detail on? Can you see that in here? We use phrases like us and we. This is a good thing to keep in mind when you're talking in a group rather than me and you, because the discussion everyone in the group. It's called inclusive language. This is where we come to our conversation. How many of you would like to be brave? Put up your hand and read one of these. There are some gaps in there, but we'll help you with those on the way through. I have a feeling these gaps are here because formatting tends to move when I open it in Teams. But we do need to put some of these in here. So we've got some gaps and we've got some. But don't worry about it.
So if you want to volunteer, just click on the hand that you see on the top here on Teams, and I will elevate you and unmute you. Or just put a comment in the chat. Okay, we have someone. Excellent.
Excellent.
Very good.
How
many volunteers do you need?
We need 5.
Lisa?
Jane,
5
Max,
volunteers.
Lucy, Mark. Jane, Max, Lucy, Mark, 4, and Josh,
Okay.
5.
Okay. So we have 4 more to go. Who is brave enough? I'm sure that there are brave people in this group.
I'm sure there are.
Don't be shy. Again, as I said at the beginning of this session, here it's a safe space where you can practice and make mistakes. No problema.
No judgment.
No judgment, yes.
No judgment, absolutely no judgment. And if you want the help, I'm here to help you, okay?
This is
Remember,
why we
mistakes
are
are good. Mistakes are good.
Exactly.
I can do Max if you want, Elisa.
Excellent, thank you, Vincent. You could be Max. Now, whose name did I see before? Amika?
Yes.
I'm not sure how to pronounce that.
Orsolia Emoeke. If we
Amika.
pronounced it correctly.
That's correct.
Oh, excellent. You could be Jane.
I
since you're
recognize
so
the name.
brave. It's not just a matter of recognizing. You can teach us how to say it. Would you like to pronounce your name for me?
This is a blue horse.
Sorry, say again.
Orsa Emka. It's Hungarian.
You're breaking
Yeah.
a lot, unfortunately, at least on my side. I
Me
didn't.
too. Try once more.
Here, it would be Orsa Emka.
Orcha Emeka. Have I got that right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Great. Thank you. All right. We've got a Jane and we've got a Max. We need a Lucy, Mark, and Josh.
I can be Lucy.
And I can be Josh. We just need one more. Come on.
Juan, would you like to volunteer?
Yeah. Juan, you can be
Master
Mark.
Juan?
Hola.
Hola. Would you like to read the part of Mark? Go on.
So you lead by example for your Mexican group.
It's an example about what?
Would you like to read the role of Mark in this dialogue?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? You'll do that for us? Go on. Okay. Amika?
Let me check.
Okay.
Okay, let's start with yes, Jane.
Yeah, go for it.
Right. As you can see on the agenda, we are here to decide which campaign design to present to our client. We have now received the feedback from our market research team on the 2 campaign ideas, and we can see a strong preference for our first idea. But this is much more expensive to roll out. Max, as the project manager, I'm interested to hear your views on this.
From my point of view, I think we need to take the results into account. The cost is an issue, but the client is our priority. Lucy, how do you feel?
Yes, I absolutely agree. The reason we do the market research is to help us make these decisions.
Go for it, Juan. Read the green line.
Juan, you're Mark.
Okay. I see your point, but there is not a difference in the result from the maker research, and the cost will be a considered investment.
Nice. Well done. Well done.
Thank
This
you.
word,
Thank you.
this word here is huge.
Huge.
Huge. It's got a G.
Huge.
Yeah, nice. Well done. Well
Thank
done.
you.
I'm sure you weren't the only one who was wondering about that. Well done. Jane.
True, you have a point. Josh, could you tell us more about the results?
Of course. In the results, there's a 20% higher positive response for our first idea compared with the second. But the reasons given for this difference are small and things we could potentially change with little effort. Are small and things we could potentially change with little effort. Get the tone right.
Okay, so just to recap, we have two ideas with a big difference in the budget, but the lower rated idea could be improved within the deadline.
One word from Mark. One.
Yes. Again?
What's exactly? Exactly.
Exactly. Exactly.
Exactly. Beautiful. Well done.
Thank you.
Well done, everyone. Beautifully read.
Okay.
Beautifully read. So let's have a think about these phrases. You saw that the right phrases went in there. From my point of view, yes, I absolutely agree. I see your point, Bart. True, you have a point. So just to recap, and here's the final agreement. Exactly. Nice, well done. There are two more phrases in here in this conversation that are used to encourage someone to share their knowledge or ideas. Which two phrases? Can you find them? Which two phrases were used to encourage someone to speak? You can type them in the chat. I think Jane said the first one. Actually, she said the second one as well. Jane is really, Josh, could you tell us more about the results? Absolutely. What about an earlier one? I'm interested to hear. Nicely found. That one and that one. So you can encourage someone directly, or you can encourage anyone in the group. These two are directed at someone in particular. So Max, as the project manager, I'm interested to hear your views. And this one was directed at Josh. Josh, could you tell us more? She could have said, does anyone have any more information about this? So well done. Nice. Let's pause for a moment and see if we have any questions. Does anybody have any language questions or communication questions at this point? Go ahead and type them in the chat if you want to. In the meantime, I'll show you the next section, which is about 7 tips for building relationships. Here are some good ideas, some of which we've already heard about. So here's our 7 ideas. Respect diversity, communicate effectively, encourage collaboration and inclusion, build trust, embrace challenges. To embrace something means to take it on, use it as something positive. Make use of technology, and finally, have fun. I love that bit of advice. Let's look at them in more detail. Diversity is one of the major advantages of international teams. So learn about your team's different cultural values and value their different perspectives and ways of doing things. This can expand everyone's thinking. Be observant and pay attention to non-verbal communication as well as body language, gesture, eye contact, personal space. That's something that happens when you're in the same room. It's not so much an issue online. Eye contact's always an interesting one to think about when we're working in the online environment, because all your faces, actually I can't see any of your faces, but when I do see faces, they're sort of down here, you know, on the side. Every now and then I have to remember to look up there so that you know I'm actually speaking to you. Communicate effectively. How do we do that? Make our language well. The most important thing in being a good speaker and communicator is being a good listener. Remember, there's two sides to communication. There's the inwards as well as the outwards. So be a good listener. Actually pay attention when somebody is speaking. Ask for clarification if you don't understand something. When you are speaking, use clear and simple language. Avoid jargon or slang and check that your listeners have understood you. Encourage your team members to share their opinions, their questions, and their concerns or worries. If you are in a very spread out team, make sure you communicate frequently and provide regular updates and feedback and recognition. So ask them questions, ask how they are, ask what they're up to in their projects, and acknowledge or recognize when people meet a deadline, when they respond to you. It's always a bit disappointing if you do something for someone and they don't say anything. It's like, I wonder if they cared. But if you get some information for someone, it's always polite to send a quick message back saying, thanks, I've received it. It's really useful. Use multiple channels when you communicate. If you're relying on technology, then use email, phone, video, and chat so that you can reach people in a number of different ways. It helps make up for that lack of face-to-face stuff. A team means that people feel like they belong and are valued. So it's a good idea, especially if you're a team leader. Create a shared vision and goals for your team. Also clarify the roles and expectations. We mentioned before to use inclusive language like we and us. Involve all team members in the decision making and problem solving and encourage them to contribute their diverse perspectives and ideas. Create opportunities for learning and development and support your team members in their career growth. And celebrate your team's achievements and milestones. Acknowledge their contributions and efforts. There's a bit of overlap between these, but they're all important. Build trust. You cannot have a strong relationship if there isn't trust. So you need to be honest, transparent, and consistent in your actions and words. Deliver on your promises. If you say you're going to do something, do it. Admit your mistakes and apologize if necessary. Show genuine interest and care for your team, but also respect their privacy. Listen to feedback from your team and act on their suggestions and concerns. Or if they're not realistic or you choose not to do them, then give them the reasons. Make them feel included and listened to. Embrace the challenges. International teams can also be challenging. You may face endings, conflicts, delays, errors due to cultural, linguistic, or logistical barriers. Don't feel negative about this. This is part of the learning world. So embrace the difficulties as opportunities to improve your skills and knowledge. Be open-minded, be curious, be flexible. Ask for feedback and guidance from your team members. If you know that you're working with a group of people from a different culture, ask them what they expect in the way of communication. Learn from your mistakes and successes and share them with your team. Here's a very practical one. Ways of dealing with that time zone thing. Use a time converter. There are lots of apps that do that. You've probably got some on your phone. There's something called Time Zone Wizard if you need to create meeting times, or maybe you're working in a platform that already does it. Maybe Teams even does it. I quite like this one. Create an annual holiday calendar so that teams are aware of their colleagues' national holidays. So if they're on holiday, they deserve their day off. So don't try and email them on their days off. It's also a good opportunity to build some cross-cultural understanding. A common platform and project management tools. If the whole team is using the same platforms, that always helps workflow, and ensure that your teams have a robust security system. If everybody has to do things in a certain way, make sure that's part of your communication. And most important, have fun. Find ways to add some humor or creativity. Maybe you could share stories, photos, videos, celebrate birthdays, organize and encourage social events. Always express your appreciation and gratitude and be yourself. I'd like to express my appreciation and gratitude, especially to our readers. Thank you. I hope you found something useful in today. We have covered advantages and challenges of working in an international team. We've explored some tips for fostering relationships, and we've practiced some expressions, agreeing and disagreeing, developed language for understanding, and encouraging participation. I hope I've encouraged you to participate. We've got one more of these learning sessions next week. I hope I can encourage you to join in then. In the meantime, have a great day. Feel free to ask any questions if you still have a burning question. Well done. And we made it within the time.
You are brilliant, Eliza, as usually. Well done.
Why, thank you.
Yes, very, very good. And thanks for everyone for joining this session. As Eliza said, we have one more to go. But until that time, please respond to the feedback that Diana posted in the chat, because for us, it's very, very important to hear your voice and to see what's your opinion about these sessions. And then for the next ones to approve according to your feedback. So your feedback is really, really important for us.
Tell me how much you liked the role play exercise.
Okay, so Eliza wants to know how much you liked the role play exercise. Please let us know, because if you don't like it, we will not do it. Right, Eliza?
Could we get the slides from our presentations? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely,
I
yes.
will
share
send
the recording, and the slides will be published on the Learning Week SharePoint page.
I'm not sure if I sent you the last sessions ones. I'll send those.
Oh, sorry,
to
my
Veronica.
microphone was somewhere else, not in front of my mouth. I was saying that the slides and recording will be shared on the Learning Week SharePoint page. So I will post it here in the chat. You give me just a few more days and I will make sure that this session, together with the one that you did previously, is up on the link that I've just posted here in the chat.
Excellent.
But please, Eliza, send me the slides from the first session, because I still don't have them. Yeah.
Yep, I'll do that.
Excellent.
As soon as we sign off.
Excellent.
Thank
Elisa,
you.
Veronica, Maestro Vincent, thank you for your support. See you.
A pleasure.
Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Hasta luego.
Hasta
luego.
Hasta la
welcome.
Hasta la vista.
Bye bye.
Thank you.